Right, let's keep things moving out here. Let's get to our airship and get moving. It would probably make more sense for the village blacksmith to only work on the airship if it was parked right next to the damn village. I mean, sure, it doesn't matter all that much. As a side note, was not expecting to see the game upgrade the sort of enemies we'd run into in the field the moment we took out the Dijin. Sure, we're taking out these berserkers fast, but I thought we were still in goblin territory. Seriously, I just can't seem to get a feeling of what kind of enemies we're supposed to be dealing with at this point. I'm sorry, what? So, the airship we gained incredibly early on no longer exists. I'm sorry, but why? Why did they even bother to give us an airship this early on in the game if it was going to be so utterly limited that we'd never be able to take it out of this corner of the map? I'm sorry, but that was that supposed to somehow come across as dramatic or epic? Because I'm sorry to say that the bridge being built in Final Fantasy I felt more epic than that, due to how it was executed. And it's a surprisingly amazing moment the first time you cross that bridge. I'm not asking for this game to be a carbon copy of Final Fantasy I. One of the things I respect about the Final Fantasy franchise is that it changes things up with absolutely every entry, but I somehow wasn't expecting a comedy in this one. Seriously, I am baffled that the first game, with an even more bare-bones story, felt like it was more tightly written than this one. Anyway, apparently Cid is asking for us to go to a king in order to get a fresh airship. Last time I checked, anyone named Cid always seemed to have a major thing to do with airships in this franchise. It's one of the rare consistencies among the various entries, much like the underlying classes, even if there are several games where you can't actually choose what class a given character might be, so no clue why Cid can't just cobble together one on his own here. Okay, so there are medicinal herbs scattered in the village, but they're hidden. Not really a surprise considering this game is kind of like hiding things a lot. As if the fact that this Desh guy has a name wasn't enough of an indicator he's gonna end up being important later on. He's got a girl crying to see him again. It certainly didn't take us long to find our next problem, even if the game isn't being all that specific what that problem might be. We just have the name of a missing person, no real details aside from that. Wonder what class can use hammers in this game. My mistake. It's not equipment, it's a usable item. Sorry about that. While this game was made in Japan, it doesn't really scream Japanese mythology inspired like a game along the lines of Okame, so my mind didn't go into magical shrinking hammer thing. When I think of a mallet, I think of just smashing things. I'm also not all that clear what a golden needle is supposed to represent in some kind of mythological way. The Final Fantasy series itself treats it as a cure for petrification, but I'm not clear how that works or why later in the series they decided to change the English name to Soft when the Japanese name has stayed the same since the beginning. I suppose it's just something we're not supposed to think about all that much. Well, that's something to think about. We're burning through cash faster than I thought this early on. Possibly because I'm pretty paranoid of dealing with some of the status effects we're being introduced to all too early. Why the hell would a great bow be more expensive than a goddamn mithril sword? I know, absolutely everything is arbitrary around here. It's not like there's an actual economy. This game is not that complicated. And again, I'm kind of judging this game a lot based on how role-player games evolved after it. I suppose I should be basing it off of Final Fantasy 1 instead, but it just feels like something about the tone doesn't really fit in that direction. It's certainly not like I can compare it, though, to Final Fantasy 2, since I keep bloody giving up on that mess early on due to the odd progression system. Still, there's no getting around the fact that I kind of enjoyed Final Fantasy 1 a lot more than 3 even this early on. And that feels a bit awkward to say, considering how many things this game tried to add on top of the original game's formula, and how many of those things are actual improvements. Anyway, I'm getting the odd feeling we're gonna have to do some grinding just for cash before moving on, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever really bothered with wind spells in Final Fantasy. I don't know why we're even being told about it. It's not like we can buy it in this town. I mean, sure, I can use fire, ice, and lightning pretty well, but wind? What the hell? Wait, what? We get hurt walking through a waterfall in a calm, nice town? I don't think that's ever been a thing before or after this game. Sure, we have some experience with environmental hazards, but those are generally things like lava or acid. Water is supposed to be safe so long as you can keep yourself from breathing it in. Sure, the damage could have been worse if the game was really trying to be brutal, but come on. The overall atmosphere of this game gives me the sense of this being some kind of pleasant little adventure, but there are other aspects that make it feel unforgivably brutal, and I'm not sure which of the two is more accurate. Those are kind of mutually exclusive things. You can't do obscenely brutal and relaxing journey at the same time, just like you can't wear boots and sneakers at the same time. Anyway, good thing we already bought all the armor we needed before we left the Mithril village. We don't need to upgrade at this point as far as I can tell, though I'm sure sooner or later, the fact that we might need to change classes is gonna make our wallets even thinner. Guess it was too much to ask for the grass there to have anything for us to grab. Okay, so we need to get an elixir to give to this woman. Well, better to make an old woman healthy than to just sit in our inventory to possibly never be used. Always a bit of an issue in a lot of role-player games. Well, helping the old woman was kind of out of our way, but helping Cid was our only way forward. Let's try to be honest about that sort of thing. Okay, to nobody's surprise, doing a good deed is rewarded in a video game. Kind of wish that was the case in real life as well. Maybe then the real world wouldn't feel like a bit of a shithole sometimes. It's just way too easy to only be concerned about yourself and those in your immediate family than to care about anyone else. Ugh. Well, guess we're getting a great bow. Again, I can't help finding it strange that the Black Mage gets to equip a bow and arrow in this game. I just can't think of any other game that pulls something like that. Yeah, we've definitely taken everything that Cid has stored away in his home at this point. Guess we should say goodbye to him and his wife. Really? I was expecting Cid's wife to get out of bed in the time it took for us to raid their basement. At the very least, her moving around a little would be a good sign that she's on the mend. Not really all that much we can sell since last time we were in a store, but still, may as well. I probably should have sold the gnomish bread, too. The Pixel Remaster kind of makes an item that makes a map show up feel pointless as hell. Granted, I like the maps that the Pixel Remaster gave us, and the lack of maps is part of what's going to make the 3D remake of this game more of a pain in the ass to deal with, assuming I don't give up trying to record it. Okay. Doesn't seem to be anything to do other than to go to the mountain right next to the village at the moment. Kind of wish there was some path in the village that would immediately lead to the mountain, but then I don't think this game has save points and dungeons just yet, so probably a good thing we go outside. I'm also pretty sure that the concept of save points within a dungeon wasn't invented until around the point of Final Fantasy IV. Just one of those things that most people consider an absolute staple of the genre. Sure, I was expecting for things to downgrade when I went from Final Fantasy IV to 3, it only makes sense. And again, this game does indeed have upgrades from what Final Fantasy I had to offer, and it's fun enough that I'm willing to go from beginning to end for it, but... yeah. Definitely way too early in the game for us to start dealing with fucking dragons. Those are generally end-game monsters, sure, as random encounters at the end of the game, but still. And I suppose there are things that are treated as more dangerous in the final dungeon than dragons, usually weird as hell, but still. We've only recently just finished our first quest of the game. A bunch of random birds are threatening enough for us at this point. Why in the hell is a game pulling out a dragon of all things when we're just 5 clips into a role-player game that generally needs dozens of hours to complete? Well, at the very least, we have a good supply of regular potions this far in. That's gotta be worth something. I'm sorry, who the hell named these things fireflies? They look more like some kind of fish-inspired hellspawn. Certainly not anything bug-like. Anyway, it looks like Carmine is down again. I swear, his class is supposed to be the most durable, but he's taking a dirt nap so damn much I'm starting to think Carmine knows I got his name off of Gears of War. Specifically, from the group of 3 brothers we meet in that series, 2 of which die in the very game they were introduced in, and the 3rd had a few very damn near death moments in the finale of that trilogy. There were other Carmines in Gears 4 and 5, but it felt like the series had forgotten how to tell its own kind of gritty joke and turned it into something that felt more like a South Park obligatory gag. Oh my god, they killed Carmine! Those bastards! Ugh. I should probably focus more on the fact that we're currently working through Final Fantasy III, rather than bitch about my feelings regarding Gears of War at the moment. They aren't even in the same genre. Huh. So somehow a regular iron arrow is going to do more damage than whatever holy enchantments were done to the other arrows to make them more effective against the undead. Kinda makes me wonder what the process is for making an arrow holy enough to burn the undead. Probably yet another thing we're not supposed to think about, just like we're not supposed to think about the fact that a mountain that few people ever step foot on has uniform staircases. But it's still gonna itch in my mind for a while. Well, thankfully the Pixel Remaster's map remembers what chests we've opened so far. It's just downright amazing, the sort of things the Pixel Remasters of the first 6 centuries of the series gave us. Downright spoilingly good, despite being so utterly basic. Granted, the PSP re-release of the original game and of Final Fantasy IV were also a nice improvement over what the originals had. If they weren't, then I wouldn't have used them for footage for my Let's Plays of those respective games. The Pixel remasters didn't exist at the time I recorded those two games, though. But it's definitely the most definitive, best way to play through Final Fantasies 1 through 6 from a pure mechanical standpoint. And the fact that they're the most easily accessible is just icing on the cake. It's especially helpful that the Pixel remasters cared about the underlying mechanics of each game, refining anything and everything that did not affect the core gameplay loop. Well, I suppose that's enough gushing about re-release for the moment. We have a date with a dragon right now. A date where apparently the dragon just lifts us up for a bit and then drops us back down immediately? Into a dragon nest full of hatchlings too shy to leave their broken eggshells just yet. I'm sorry, but the odd mix of cute and horrifying has me completely baffled how to react here. This entire setup feels like it deserves to be animated in Akira Toriyama's style. Hell, this game was released the same year as Dragon Quest IV. And good God, there are far too many damn good role-player game franchises I'm itching to get to, and only so many games I can work on at a time. Anyway, we seem to have met the Desh guy we heard about in the village, so that's something. Huh, well, at least he's not going through any angst over the amnesia. There are only a few characters that I feel can get away with that sort of thing. Okay, so the dragon has a name, a familiar name for a dragon. I know we're supposed to run, but did we really need to have Bahamut show up in the 5th and clip of the overall game? And of course, he's hitting for 4 digits of damage, when not one member of our team even has 140 health. Hell, our entire team's health combined is somewhere in the 500 points range. Things just feel incredibly obscene in this game, and it's hard to really grasp why the hell they make things this damn rough for us this early on. Indeed. Get going! I thought there was supposed to be a sense of urgency as we try to escape from Bahamut. I'm sorry, if we went that damn far, why the hell didn't we see Bahamut carry us that far back when he picked us up to drop us on his nest? And unfortunately, we have no means to return to any of the stores from before from here. And if you aren't familiar enough with Final Fantasy to know that some forests can be entered like a dungeon or town, you might feel there is absolutely nowhere to really go now that we've been dropped in the middle of fucking nowhere. This is very unkind to any newcomers to Final Fantasy, and I don't see why the hell they released it in this state. After going through the PSP versions of Final Fantasy 1 and 4, along with completing the original generation of Pokemon, I'm pretty sure we know what we're doing in the genre as a whole, but this game just is catching me off guard left and right. Even if there are well and truly obscene numbers of role-player games out there with plenty of different styles that it's insane, this one, I don't really know how to categorize her. Anyway, this forest has 3 different pools for us to drink water from. Not as nice to see as a store, but I'll take it. This game isn't completely unforgiving. It's just so utterly baffling to me that I seem to keep getting caught off guard from one clip to the next. And lovely. We have scary-looking tentacle monsters now for some reason. I swear, it just doesn't feel like there's a solid theming to the enemies we're running into around here. What? Are we not allowed to go any further at all without shrinking? Oh, bloody hell. And how many people wouldn't figure that out even after everything they had read to get this far?